Hello, everyone. I am Talea Dindy, the cancer doula with On the Other Side. Today, we have an amazing guest with us. Her name is Clare Poulose, and she is a certified personal trainer with the American College of Sports Medicine. She is also a registered nurse who holds a Master's of Science in Nursing, as well as certifications as a cancer exercise specialist and physical activity with lymphedema. Clare started Survival to Strength, a 501c3 nonprofit, in 2014 to help people who have had cancer or who have had cancer get stronger and healthier. Survival to Strength offers free one-on-one training in strength, coordination, and mobility. It is a 12-week program with no obligation or expectations to purchase. So she offers a lot of great sessions. And today we are so honored to have Clare here to help us get our exercise information in order so that we can continue on a healthy path. Clare, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, Talia.
You're welcome.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so first I'll talk about physical activity. What is physical activity? There's 4 basic categories: cardiorespiratory, which is your lung function, your heart function; strength training, moving against resistance, which makes your bones and tendons and muscles denser and stronger; and then flexibility, mobility, balance, and coordination. The last 2 are important foundations for the first 2 types of physical activity. And there is a lot of science that shows that physical activity reduces morbidity and mortality. So it reduces illness and it reduces death in all types of diseases, including cancer. And so what about people who have had a cancer diagnosis, who are done with treatment or still getting treatment? Well, if you've never had cancer, it's hard enough to get to the gym or to go to the park or to take a class to be physically active. But people who have had cancer, many of them have multiple appointments ongoing for years. They may be dealing with short-term side effects during treatment or long-term after. Not everybody, of course, but many people have scarring, leaking. They may have lopsided body parts. They may have swelling. All these things have practical implications for physical activity. And many people I talk to, the unknown is important. They don't know what is safe to do, and they don't know what they're able to do. One lady was telling me that every day she'd walk out to the mailbox with her dog, and she was afraid because she didn't know now if she could get back to her house from the mailbox. Many people are insecure and self-conscious. Their body has changed. Even if people on the outside can't see changes in their body, they know. There's a lot of research showing that women and even men, there's research showing that men are embarrassed. They feel weak, their body's different, and they don't want to be in public when they're physically active at a gym or taking a class or even at a park. And then there's financial toxicity. Of course, many ways of being physically active. It costs money. And then fatigue is a big problem. So cancer and its treatment changes a person's body. And like I mentioned a minute ago, during and after treatment, many people, they don't know what they're able to do anymore, and they don't know what's safe to do. I'm not going to spend a lot of time running through the side effects because you all know the side effects, but I'll kind of skim over them because again, they have practical implications for physical activity. So if a person's had chemotherapy, this can change their heart and lung function. It might affect their nerves, their digestive tract, kidneys, hearing. They can be more sensitive to all kinds of different things and allergic reactions. And then, of course, Particularly during treatment, they may have low red blood cells, so they may be anemic, low platelets, which clot your blood, and they may have low white blood cells, which fight infection. And these things like the red blood cells, white cells, platelets, that can vary day to day or week to week. And then there are side effects from hormone therapies. One thing we've seen particularly related to physical activity is tendon brittleness and the Achilles tendon, where people have to be more careful to not strain or tear that. There's side effects from targeted and biotherapies affecting blood pressure and things. And then radiation and surgery have many of the similar side effects. So the thing is, a person's healing from treatment, they may or may not be at the same time developing long-term side effects. For surgery and radiation, there's often scarring, weakness, sometimes pain. There can be alterations in circulation, alterations in your lymph system circulating, so you may be more at risk for lymphedema and other forms of edema. Often there's changes in a person's neuromuscular function. And then sometimes people have lost a limb or a body part, or they have lost a piece of a muscle. And so that, of course, is, again, practical implications for physical activity. But the most common and persistent side effect from cancer treatment is fatigue. So having said all those very negative, discouraging things, what is the good news? The good news is that physical activity can counter negative side effects of treatment. People can become stronger than they were before they had cancer. So I'll talk a little bit about how that works. Movement affects our mood and our thoughts. When a person experiences trauma, loss, unpredictable events, particularly chronic unpredictable events, this increases inflammation in a person's body at that moment. And then in the future, when they're reminded of the trauma or loss, when they're reminded of something unpredictable happening, or when they perceive a threat that it may happen again. So that causes inflammation in their body, and we develop stress responses. Physical activity helps counter stress responses in our body and our brain. And regular physical activity helps reprogram excessive stress responses. When I say excessive, I don't mean that in a judgmental, critical way. I mean, that's just our natural protective reaction in our bodies and our brains when something keeps happening or something traumatic has happened. We want to protect ourselves. And regular physical activity can help kind of calm down excessive stress responses. And even a small amount of physical activity can improve balance, coordination, complications from peripheral neuropathy. And that's important safety things, so that people can climb up on stools, go up the stairs, get off the couch, get up and down off the floor. There is so much science that shows that physical activity improves cognitive function across the board for all kinds of illnesses, including cancer. It can help with all different types of pain, can help with sexual function, and then again, of course, it can help with your heart and lung function being more efficient. So how does physical activity affect cancer? When you develop and maintain muscle mass, that helps maintain a healthy body weight, and it helps regulate biologic processes regardless of your body size. So I'll talk about that a little bit more. Cancer prevention, we don't actually know how to prevent cancer. But we know that physical activity is an important piece to combating that complicated cascade that happens in a person's body to develop cancer. So we know physical activity can help be part of prevention because it regulates sex hormones, can help regulate sex hormones, which some stimulate some cancer growth. It regulates insulin, which has an anti-apoptotic activity, meaning we want old, unhealthy cells to die off in our body and get replaced by good, healthy cells, younger, newer, healthier cells. And insulin can kind of mess with that a little bit. Physical activity regulates the use of sugar It helps it be more readily available for our muscles. It turns sugar to glycogen that goes in our muscles and gives us energy to move. It regulates the use of protein. You can eat all the protein you want, but if you don't contract your muscles, you will not build muscle. It boosts our immune system. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the next slide. It regulates cortisol and other stress hormones. So it has an anti-inflammatory effect, again, on our stress response. And it can alter digestion by reducing the amount of toxins and poisons that are in our intestines. And then overall, it can reduce excessive acid production and help with gastric reflux that is associated with some cancers. And then movement and the immune system. Regular, moderate physical activity promotes replacing old T cells with better new T cells. T cells fight infection and fight cancer. And the thymus makes immune cells in our bodies. And then people who are physically active, they have found that their thymus makes a more diverse types of T cells. And the more diverse your T cells, the more protected you are against invasion of cancer, infections. So we want good diversity in our T cells. Our bone marrow makes a lot of immune cells also, and people who are physically active, their bone marrow makes more stem cells that become more immune cells to better protect our body. And then there's just more anti-inflammatory proteins floating around in our body when we're physically active. Some proteins encourage inflammation and some proteins calm it down. And so T cells, B cells, natural killer cells, and macrophages are all cells in our body that help fight cancer. And we tend to have more of those if we're physically active. So there's just simply less cancer when a person is physically active. And there are hundreds of studies that show that at least 26 types of cancer are reduced in developing, reduced in recurrence, and reduced in dying from these cancers. I always say if physical activity was a pill, every doctor would be prescribing it because every system in our body works better with physical activity. So how to get started? I tell people to start with something easy. And then even if it's easy, if it's new or unusual, something you haven't done for a while, then just take it easy. You don't need to be sore or tired from physical activity for it to make a difference. And I also tell people there's no hurry. People want to hurry up and get strong again. They just want to feel good again, but you can't hurry it. You have to take your time. And eventually we want your physical activity to include strength, which is resistance, making your muscles and bones denser, endurance for your heart and lung efficiency, and then balance and mobility, again, are really important for safety and for movement. So it is an individual balance. What you do for rest and working out, it's individual for people day to day, week to week, month to month, or in any given year. Rest is so important to heal and grow, and working out is so important for healing and growing. So that is the end of that part. And then we can go ahead and do a little bit of movement. Okay. And then Talea, I just want to put it back on the regular screen.
Okay, yes, you're fine.
Oh, can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. You're no longer sharing.
Okay. All right. Okay, so if you're able to, let's go ahead and stand up. And we're just do a little bit of breathing and motion. And if you can't move your arms, if you have shoulder problems and you can't do a lot of range of motion, then you just start where you're at. Maybe you're like this with your arms, or maybe even you're just doing the elephant with your arms. That's okay. I'm going to do a full range of motion, and we're going to breathe in as our arms go up, and down as and out, breathe out as your arms go down. So first you're going to get your heart out, your shoulders down and back, little tension in your abdomen, a little tension in your rear end, and plant your feet so you feel the ground from your toes all the way to your heels. So when you're ready to breathe in, and then breathe out as wide as you can with your arms. You can check your pelvic tilt so that you're not forward or back, that it's just neutral. Let's do it again. We're going to breathe in and then breathe out. Let's do that one more time. Breathe in and breathe out. Then we're going to do the same thing, but go backwards. So again, check your pelvic tilt, your heart's out, shoulders down and back, your head's neutral, your feet are planted in the floor. You're going to push your arms back as far as you can. While you breathe in, and then breathe up as wide as you can, and breathe out. Let's do that 2 more times. Push back and out. One more time. Now we're going to do the thoracic twist. That is when our lower pelvis stays straight ahead. We're going to rotate our upper pelvis. If you have neck trouble, then you want to keep your chin lined up with your sternum. So when we turn, you're just going to keep your chin lined up with your sternum. If you don't have neck trouble, then I'd like you to look as far as you can in the direction that we're turning with your eyes. And we'll put some arm motion into it also, because that helps with the stretching and warming up our nerves and our ligaments and tendons. So you're going to plant your feet, pelvis tilt is neutral, shoulders down and back. We're just going to turn to the right and try to keep your lower pelvis straight ahead. Sometimes you have to think of turning it the other way to keep it straight ahead. And we're slowly going to turn back to the other side. We're just warming up our joints, getting the synovial fluid moving, which when you move your joints, you make more synovial fluid, and that's the lubricant for our joints. So that can help make movement less painful. And I like to bend my wrists any directions really when I'm doing these things, because again, that helps warm up our nerves and our ligaments and tendons. Okay, now we're going to get down on the ground. Many people have trouble getting on the ground, getting up and down off the ground. If you do have trouble getting on and off the ground, then I recommend you work with a physical therapist or a personal trainer, or someone who can help you with your individual body mechanics for the safest, best way for you to get up and down. And I promise you, if you keep working on it, it can get better. And many people have asked me, I just want to be down on the ground with my grandkids and get back up. And they can eventually. So the first thing we're going to do is a pointer dog on the floor. This is a common exercise because it's so good. And again, if you can't move your arms as far as I move mine, you just move them the way you can. And if you can't move your legs as far as I move mine, just move them as far as they go. And as you work on it gently, your mobility and your range of motion will improve. And there's no hurry on that. So to be in the table position, you want your wrists under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. You want your head neutral or a little bit up. You want your shoulder blades down and back. You want to tuck your belly button a little bit towards your spine. And then we're going to extend our arm. You can pick each arm and your opposite leg. So that's what it looks like. And we're going to alternate sides. So that's how it looks. And again, if this is as far as you can go, or if you can only use your arm or only use your legs, you just start where you're at. So we'll go ahead and try 5. We'll try 6. We'll do 3 on each side. And if you feel wiggly, then just get set before you move. Shoulders down and back, tummy a little tight, and then go ahead and try to extend your opposite arm with your opposite leg. And anytime you need to reset, just get your shoulders down and back, tuck your tummy a little bit, and then continue. And when I'm working with someone, I tell them when you can do something 20 times really easily, then it's a good time to add a little more difficulty and just progress very slowly. So now we're going to lie on the floor, and many people can't lie on their abdomen from chest surgery or many reasons. And for what I'll show you today we're going to do Superwoman or Superman. There's lots of variations that you can use mats or balls or even stools with a cushion so that you don't have to have pressure on your chest when you do these exercises. But for today, I'll just show you flat on the floor for a Superman or a Superwoman. So you're going to lie on your abdomen, and you can have your arms anywhere in that you want to, that's like an angel position. You want your legs straight. You don't want to bend your knees. You might want a towel for your forehead. It's up to you. And I'll show you what it looks like. You're just elevating your arms and legs. And again, try not to bend your leg because then you're using your leg muscles. We want you to use these muscles right here. This is really good for your lower back. And I like to do this if I've been sitting in a chair or driving for a lot day, because we spend the whole time with our back kind of bent this way, and it's good to have it move a little bit in the opposite direction. So we'll try 5 of these. If it's hard, don't do 5. We're going to breathe in as we lift our arms and legs and breathe out as we put them down. And it's just a very small motion. You're just barely coming off the ground. And again, if it's hard for you, then just start with 1 arm or just 2 arms or just 1 leg, and just start where you're at. So let's go ahead and try 5. Breathe in, and back down. And breathe in, and back down. Breathe in. Do 2 more. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to roll over on our backs. And again, not everyone can lie on their back, and there's ways to do variations of everything, using the wall, using chairs, using balls and stools. So we're going to lie on our back, and most people, when they lie on their back, need something under their knees or to keep their legs bent. What we're going to do first is just warm up our hips a little bit more. So you're going to lift 1 foot up and draw a circle in the air with your knee. So just pick either direction and just make small circle. Not too fast. And again, we're just getting our hip joints warmed up. And then change direction. Whenever we do a movement that we change direction or use the opposite sides of our body, that works our brain in another way, which is good. Okay, let's change legs. The next knee's up and just doing small circles. And it's okay if this is easy. And for the purposes of time, we're not spending a lot of time on it. But often I start with people just a small amount of time initially anyways to see how their body reacts from a new movement. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is a flat crunch. And there's a lot of ways to do crunches. I like the flat crunch because it's a little more protective of our back. So what you're going to do is plant your feet down in the ground, check your pelvic tilt, shoulders down and back, your heart's out, your head's neutral. And we're not going to curl up like this, like a typical crunch. We're going to imagine that our chest is going straight to the ceiling. It won't go up, but that's how you think of it, so that you tighten your abdominal muscles. And then for many people that I've worked with, the first thing that gets tired, particularly with women, is their neck. When your neck gets tired, stop.
eventually your neck will get stronger. It'll catch up to your abdominal muscles, and then you can do more. So we'll go ahead and try 2, and so you can see how it feels. And then if you feel good, we can add a couple more. So again, check your pelvic tilt, shoulders down and back. Your feet are pushed down into the ground, and you're just going to lift your chest a little bit. So it's a small movement. Might feel like you're not doing anything. And then go ahead and rest and see how you feel. If you want to try a few more, that's okay. Some people cannot lift at all, and that's okay. Just tighten the muscles and just stay in the same position. Tighten those abdominal muscles like you were about to move, and that still works your muscles. I'm going to do 3 more of the abdominal crunches. So that's good. And then again, what I tell people is when you can do 20 of those, which may take months, it may take a year. Whenever you get to 20 easily, then we can work on making things more difficult. The next thing that I'd like to do is a bridge, and I love bridges. They're good for many things. And you start in the same position. Your feet are pushed down in the ground, shoulders down and back. You can have your arms any way that you want, and you're going to lift your hips to make a bridge. Squeeze your rear end just a little bit at the top and come back down. If you can't lift, that's okay. You just start with thinking that you're going to lift. Just kind of give it a try and tighten everything. Again, tightening the muscles is still working them, even if you don't get much movement. But let's go ahead and try 5 two-legged bridges. Feet are in the ground. Your pelvic tilt is checked. Shoulders down and back. Go ahead and lift. And tighten your rear end just a little bit at the top. Back down. Let's do 3 more. I'm going to show you 2 simple variations you can do also. You don't have a ball with you probably right now, but I like these 99-cent playground balls. You put it between your knees, and then you do a bridge again, and you squeeze the ball at the top of the bridge. And so that works all these muscles again, but it also works your inner legs, which is important for stability. So I check my pelvic tilt, put my feet in the ground, shoulders down and back, and squeeze the ball at the top of my bridge. You can also, the other variation I add pretty early on with people is you just use pretty much any kind of band, put it around your knees, and then again, do a bridge. And at the top of your bridge, you push your legs out. And that uses the outside of your thighs, your abductors, which again is important for stability. So you do your bridge, push out, back down. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is this. Go ahead over there, down. Next thing we're going to do is a supine twist. We start in the same position, back, on your back, and you push your feet down in the ground, shoulders. So go on. Okay, start same position. You're pushed. I'll be right back. Sorry. Okay. Go on. The supine twist is good for sciatic pain. These feet are pushed in the ground. Check your pelvic tilt, shoulders down and back, and you're just going to rotate your hips from one side to the other. Just a gentle rotation. If you've never done anything like this type of movement, keep your feet on the ground. If you're fairly athletic or you've done this similar thing, you can lift your feet up. And you always want to keep this angle between your knees and your abdomen to be 90 degrees or less. Now you can just rotate with your feet up. And again, that's really good for sciatic pain, works a lot of our inner pelvis muscles. And that's about as far as a lot of people go. Some people are able to go all the way to the floor, but that usually takes some time unless they're used to doing that type of movement. So let's go ahead and just do a few more of those. So either your feet are down if it's new for you, or you can have your feet up if you've done similar movements, and we'll just do maybe 3 on each side. And since we're rotating our spine, I always rotate my spine slowly. Okay. Now we're going to do a T. So imagine that I'm lying on my back on the floor. There's my T. My arms are making a T. If your arms are down here, that's okay. If you have shoulder trouble, you want to keep your thumbs up towards the ceiling. That opens up your shoulder joint. And also if you have neck trouble, you might not want to make a full T. That's okay. You can have your arms down like this. We're going to lie on our backs just like we were, but you're going to have your arms wherever you can be so that you're feeling a gentle stretch across here. We spend most of the day all curled up and hunched over. So I think it's important that many days during the week, we do something to kind of open up our sternum, open up our ribs, and counter all that crunched up effect. So let's go ahead and lie back in the same position. And then make your T however it is. And then we're going to do some breathing while we're lying here. So I'm going to have you breathe out just nice and relaxed, empty your lungs, and then breathe out a little bit more. And then I want you to let your lungs fill back in, and then fill them a little bit more. I don't want you to force it, but just when you feel like you kind of let it all, your air out, let a little bit more air out. So we can kind of work that transverse abdominal muscle, our deep abdominal muscles, and that helps us relax. So go ahead and breathe out. Breathe back in. Breathe out. Breathe back in. Do one more. Breathe out. Breathe back in. And we're going to add the supine twist that we just did to our T stretch. So straighten your left leg and let your right leg roll over. You want to feel a stretch in your hip. If you're not feeling the stretch, you can raise your knee up a little more. Also, I have my right arm just kind of neutral over my body. If I want to, I can reach to the ceiling and bring my arm slowly down. You can reach your arm back up. If you're not getting a stretch in your hip still, you can try to reach back more, either with your arm or your shoulder, without pulling too much. And it'll add a little bit of stretch. Let's do 2 more of those. And then we can do the other side. And some people, again, need a towel or something under their head, particularly if you have neck trouble. So straighten the bottom leg, roll your top leg over. You want to feel a stretch here. If you don't, you can raise your knee up a little more, and you can twist your torso back a little more. And we'll do 5 like this. You never want to stretch so that it hurts. So just stop where you just barely feel it. Well, that's it for today. I would just want to thank Talea again
for having me, and thank you for letting me talk about a subject that is so important.
Thank you, Claire, so much. Those exercises were wonderful. And I really like how you did the modifications because I think that's very important. A lot of people tend to think that they simply just cannot exercise, but there's a lot of different modifications and techniques that people can use to get some form of exercise. My question for you before we end here is, do you have any input about doing like a cool down exercise or breathing or something like that? Can you speak to that quickly, please?
I think that's really important. The last two things I did were kind of a cool down. I like to do a little range of motion, a little bit more core at the end, and then just some gentle stretching, sometimes with motion, sometimes static stretching, depending on the body part. But that's very important also, so that you're not tight after your workout.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Claire. I learned a lot today. I hope that you all have as well. As you can see, Claire is a great resource to get back motivated to do exercise. And if you're interested in her free training program, visit survival, the number 2, and strength.com. Again, that's survival, number 2, strength.com. And just, take advantage of this wonderful training program that Claire has. So Claire, again, thank you so much. Thank you for all the great tips and resources. And, just keep doing what you're doing. We need more people like you, Claire, that help cancer patients and even survivors continue to live a healthy life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Talia.